Let's be real. You've been taught to open up, to trust, to let others in. And while that might feel good in the moment, here's the truth. Not everyone deserves to hear your story. You see, your life is not a reality show for the masses. It's not a free ticket for people to walk in and out of your most intimate moments without consequence. What you choose to share, who you choose to share it with, these decisions are your power. And it's time you take back control. You've been told time and time again that opening up is a way to build relationships, to show trust, and to connect with others. And yes, at its core, vulnerability is a powerful tool for connection. But here's the truth. Vulnerability does not mean you should give access to every person who crosses your path. Your personal life is not public property, and it never should be. We live in a world where everyone is eager to share their opinions, offer unsolicited advice, and impose their judgments. But just because someone is interested in your life doesn't mean they deserve to know everything about you. The boundaries we set around what we share are deeply personal, and they reflect our self-worth. Your life, your heart is not a billboard for the world to comment on. There is a delicate balance between being open and being exposed. And when you open the doors to your heart without discernment, it's like inviting strangers into your most sacred, vulnerable spaces and hoping they'll treat them with respect. But the reality is, not everyone will. People can be careless with our stories, using them for their entertainment, their gossip, or even their own advantage. You are not obligated to share your most intimate experiences, struggles, or triumphs with anyone who asks. What you share should be earned, not given away freely. The impact of oversharing goes beyond just feeling uncomfortable. It can leave deep emotional scars. When you share personal information too freely, you risk opening yourself up to judgment, or even both. People who haven't earned your trust might use your story as ammunition to manipulate, belittle, or invalidate you. The more you give away, the more vulnerable you become, and the more opportunity you give others to distort the truth of who you are. Oversharing creates an imbalance in your relationships, one where others feel entitled to your life, and you feel pressured to open up without the proper protection. You are no longer in control of your narrative. Others hold the power, and that is not a place you want to be. So, how do we protect ourselves in a world that constantly demands more from us? We establish boundaries. Healthy boundaries are not walls. They are protective barriers that allow you to choose who enters your space and how much of yourself you allow them to see. You don't have to justify your need for privacy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you choose to keep certain aspects of your life to yourself. Your story is yours to tell, and you get to decide when, where, and boom, you reveal it. This is not about being closed off or secretive. It's about being discerning with who gets access to your innermost thoughts and feelings. Not everyone will treat your vulnerability with the respect it deserves, so be selective about who you let in. Think about it this way. Would you hand the keys to your house to a stranger? Of course not. You would only trust that responsibility to someone who has proven they are worthy of it. The same goes for your life. The more you allow others to enter your personal space without boundaries, the more you risk them misusing that trust. Relationships are built on mutual respect, not on a constant sharing of every detail about who we are. If you constantly open the door to your most vulnerable self without discretion, you make it easy for people to walk right in. And once they're in, you may find it impossible to regain control. In this world that encourages us to constantly share, it's essential to remember that some things should remain private. Not everyone is entitled to your story. Not everyone deserves to know your deepest fears, your greatest desires, or your most painful experiences. The value of your personal life lies in its sacredness. When you allow yourself to decide what stays private and what is shared, you reclaim ownership over your personal life. Is not a commodity for others to consume. It's a part of you, and it's too precious to be handed over to anyone who hasn't earned the privilege of hearing it. And that privilege should never be taken lightly. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. It's seen as a weakness by many, but let's set the record straight. Vulnerability is one of the strongest things a person can embrace. It's what allows us to be authentic, to connect, to be real. But here's the truth we don't often talk about. Vulnerability is not for everyone. You are not obligated to share your innermost struggles, your deepest pain, or your greatest fears with just anyone who comes into your life. Vulnerability is a gift, a powerful one, and like any gift, it should be treated with care and respect. It's not something you give away freely. It's a treasure, and it should only be shared with those who have proven they can handle it. When you allow someone into your vulnerable space, you are exposing a part of you that is sacred, that is fragile. It's easy to think that by opening up, you'll build deeper connections, but the truth is, not everyone will respond with the care and empathy that you need. Some will turn your vulnerability into a weapon, using it against you in moments of conflict or disagreement. Others might dismiss it entirely, failing to understand the gravity of what you've just shared. That's why vulnerability is not a right, it's a privilege. It's something that should be earned by those who have shown they can handle your truth with love and handle your truth with love and understanding. Consider this. How many times have you shared something personal with someone only to regret it later? Maybe they used it to gossip. Maybe they didn't offer the support you expected, or maybe they simply didn't understand the weight of what you were sharing. Vulnerability is a fragile thing, and once it's out there, it can never truly be taken back. Words and stories are powerful. They have the ability to heal or hurt, to build up. When shared with the wrong person, they can be twisted into something ugly, something that no longer resembles the truth of who you are. That's the risk of vulnerability. Not everyone will treat your truth with the respect it deserves. And when that happens, it can feel like a betrayal that cuts deep. But when you choose to share your vulnerability with someone who has earned that trust, the impact can be life-changing. It can build an unshakable bond, a connection that is rooted in understanding and mutual respect. Vulnerability shared with the right person has the power to heal, to create intimacy, and to deepen your sense of belonging. It's not about throwing your heart out for anyone to see. It's about being selective, being intentional about who gets access to the deepest parts of you. The right person will hold your vulnerability like a precious gift, protecting it, cherishing it, and returning the same level of openness and kind. That's the power of vulnerability. When shared in the right context, it creates something profound and transformative. But even when you choose the right person, vulnerability comes with its own set of risks. It opens you up to the possibility of rejection, misunderstanding, or even abandonment. When you are truly vulnerable, you are at your most exposed, your most raw. And while that can create deep connections, it also means you're walking on a tightrope, one that could snap if the person you've trusted fails to catch you. That's why it's so crucial to be discerning, to know when to share and when to keep certain things close. Vulnerability is not for everyone. It's for those who have shown they are capable of holding space for our truth without judgment or harm. In the end, vulnerability is not about being weak. It's about being strong enough to show up as your true self. But strength lies in knowing who deserves to see that true self, who has earned the right to witness your vulnerability. It's about taking ownership of your emotional landscape, about deciding when, where, and with whom you will share your story. When you give away your vulnerability, make sure it's with those who have proven they are worthy of it. Not because they asked for it, but because they've earned it through their actions, their empathy, and their respect. We all carry the weight of our own story. No one can truly understand the full depth of what it means to live your life, the highs, the lows, the complexities, the moments that shape you into who you are. You are the only one who has been there for every step of your journey. You've walked through the darkness, survived the pain, and celebrated the victories, often alone, but always with the knowledge that you were the one who endured. And that's something no one else can take from you. Your story, your narrative, belongs to you, and you alone. It is a reflection of your experiences, your perspective, and your growth, and no one can carry it the way you can. When you hand over pieces of your story to others, you risk losing the ability to shape it. You allow someone else to define the way your life is perceived. When you share too much, too often, with too many people, you open the door for others to rewrite your narrative. Your story becomes theirs to comment on, judge, and mold into something they can understand. But it's not theirs to shape. It's yours. It's tempting to believe that sharing our struggles, our triumphs, or our insecurities with others will somehow make us more understood. But there's a fine line between sharing for connection and sharing for approval. If we're not careful, we can start relying on others to validate who we are, to give meaning to our experiences. The problem with this is that no one else can truly understand the essence of who you are. They can listen, they can empathize, but they can never fully walk in your shoes. And no one will ever hold the full weight of your story the way you do. When you rely too heavily on others to understand you, you risk losing yourself in the process. You begin to look to others for answers about who you are instead of trusting yourself to know what's true. So the more you share, the more you risk losing your sense of self. Your personal life is not a public performance. It's a deeply private, evolving experience. When you open up to others without boundaries, you risk losing the control over how your life is framed. You allow others to form judgments, to create stories about you that may not be true or that may not align with your own understanding of yourself. People will make assumptions, and sometimes those assumptions can be harmful. The more you hand out pieces of yourself, the more you lose the ability to protect your integrity and your sense of self. Your life, your personal experiences, should not be a narrative for others to edit or control. You are the author of your own story, and it's up to you to decide how it unfolds. Again, it's not that others don't care. It's that they can't fully grasp the depth of your experiences. We all have our own stories to live, our own challenges to face. The way others perceive your life is always filtered through their own perspective. No one can understand your story the way you do. Even the people who care about you the most, who love you deeply, can never know exactly how it feels to walk in your shoes. That's why it's so important to trust yourself. You are the expert on your own life. You get to decide what parts of your story are shared and with whom. When you give others too much access to your life, you invite them to become the narrators of your journey. But they don't have the full picture. They can't. Only you do. The power to shape your life's narrative lies within you, and it starts with the choices you make about who gets to know your story. When you share too freely, too often, or with too many people, you surrender that power. You let go of the reins, and you risk becoming a passive participant in your own life. The truth is, no one will ever care as much about your life as you do. They can support you, they can listen, but they will never carry the emotional weight of your experiences. They will never feel your pain, your triumphs, your growth like you do. And so, you must protect your story. Your personal life is yours to control. It should never be handed over to anyone who hasn't proven. When you let others define your story for you, you give up the most powerful thing you have, your ability to control your narrative. Your life is a reflection of your inner truth. Only you can assign meaning to your experiences, to your struggles, to the lessons you've learned along the way. No one else can carry that burden for you. When you let someone else take ownership of your story, you allow them to reshape your identity. But when you hold your story closed, when you remain the author of your life, you preserve the power to define who you are and what you stand for. Your story is not theirs to rewrite. It's yours to tell. And that power, that ownership is something no one else can take away from you. Thus, in today's world, we're constantly told to be open, to share our vulnerabilities, to be honest about who we are. And while there is wisdom in being authentic and showing up as your true self, there is also strength in knowing when and how to protect your most personal moments. Vulnerability isn't about being weak or exposed. It's about being selective, about knowing that your personal life is a treasure that should only be shared with those who truly deserve to see it. It's a delicate balance between being open and being careful, and finding that balance is essential for your emotional well-being. Your personal life is sacred, and it's up to you to decide who gets access to that space. One of the most important aspects of protecting your personal life is understanding that not everyone needs to know everything about you. It's tempting, especially in our social media-driven world, to share every moment, every achievement, and every struggle. But the truth is, not everyone will understand the full context of your life, and many won't appreciate the significance of what you're sharing. Your life is a unique narrative that only you truly understand, and not everyone is equipped to handle the depth of your experiences. By keeping certain parts of your life private, you maintain control over how your story is told. You decide which chapters are shared and which ones remain in the confines of your own heart. The act of sharing your personal life can often lead to the loss of your sense of control. When you open up too much, you allow others to shape the perception of your experiences. This can be dangerous because the moment you let someone else in, you risk them imposing their own biases, judgments, or misunderstandings, or mischievous. People will see things through their lens, and their interpretation may not align with your own truth. This is why it's so critical to be selective about what you share and with whom. You get to determine the context and the meaning of your own story. The more you reveal, the more you open yourself up to others' interpretations, which can quickly become distorted and out of your hands. Furthermore, when you give others access to your most intimate details, you open yourself up to the possibility of judgment. No matter how compassionate or understanding the person may be, they will never fully experience your emotions the way you do. They will never feel the exact weight of your struggles or understand the depth of your pain. And this can lead to a disconnect where they may unintentionally minimize your experiences or offer advice that doesn't resonate with your reality. Vulnerability can absolutely bring us closer to others, but it can also leave us exposed to judgment, misunderstanding, and even manipulation. There's a common misconception that being vulnerable is inherently good, that by opening up, we automatically form stronger bonds with those around us. We're told that vulnerability is the key to connection, that by sharing our deepest fears and struggles, we create bonds with others. While there is truth to this, there's also a need to recognize that not everyone deserves access to the most personal parts of you. It's shaped by your experiences, your pain, your growth, and no one else can fully understand what it means to live through your journey. And that's why it's essential to maintain control over what parts of your life are shared. People can be well-meaning, but even those who care about you may not always understand your perspective, and their judgments can leave lasting effects that you may struggle to undo. Boundaries are an essential tool in protecting your personal life